In this video, I'm not just giving you the tools for survival. I'm handing you the keys to dominating your first 2 months in the game of Manor Lords. And let me ask you, what happens if you don't have the perfect start? Well, imagine your food supplies dwindling, your people starving, chaos spreading like wildfire, ox named Larry, American names. It sounds terrifying, doesn't it? Well, that's why you need this guide. I'm going to show you my perfect start strategies, what development points I'm choosing, and food mechanics that will help keep your colony alive, and just give you a general grasp of how this game works, because it's fucking confusing. And because I like a little flair, I'll be showing you how to incorporate the Marlin Brondo into the perfect start of your city. Oh yeah, it's cool. I mean, I worked really hard on it. I worked so hard. All right, so let's get this show on the road. We're starting with our boy Larry on restoring the peace default settings. Now, I'm doing this on Germanic Valley because Winding River has some pathfinding issues, and High Peaks is just a little too small for a lot of the mechanics that I want to show you, though everything I show you can easily be used on both maps. So here we are, beginning our journey. It is glorious and wonderful day. So let's hit that wonderful pause button, unite the lands under our rule, and let's take a peek at where we are. So we have an interesting piece of land. We have rich iron deposit, rich stone, which means we have the worst farmland there is. Let's take a gander real quick. All right. So Emmer fertility, we can see there are some good spots for growing bread. We're not going to need any bread for this. What we're really interested in is the booze, the barley. Over here is a barley location. Over here is a barley location. This will help reduce the amount of barley that we have to import, though that will be the main focus later in the game. We will easily be able to trade. I can tell you right off the bat that you do not need to farm barley for a small 20 burgage plot city, which is what I'm going to show you. But as long as you have 40% fertility, you can get about 40 barley per 1 Morgan plot. So over here, you can see I could potentially get, in total, we have around 4.5. We could get almost 5 plots over here and a little bit more over there. So we could get 6. So we can get about 80 barley a year. And that's not too bad. That's not too bad because barley is expensive as heck. All right. So what we want to do now is make sure we're in a good spot. So our food supply is all the way over there and we're all the way over here. So this is a bit of a conundrum, right? We have an enormous forest area. This is perfect for a lot of things. This whole area is beautiful. We're going to go with it. So we're probably going to be able to get our first family up by May. I have a guide on how to do it by April, but because I'm going for a big build here, things are going to be a little different, okay? So what we first want to do is get 3 burgage plots up and a lumber mill. That will allow us to get to 50% approval rating and have an extra housing space to attract that family member. What we're going to do is straight off the bat go with the tried, the true, the magnificent, the Marlin Brondo, and we're going to be using corpse pits. So we want to line up our bottom, which is going to be around here, and we're going to be moving this animal thing, so don't worry. So this is a beautiful location for our village right off the King's Road. So the start of it's going to be right here. So we're going to do 3 corpse pits right off the bat. And you want to try to get these as straight as possible. Perfect. And then we're going to go down the middle. So this is going to be the center. And you're going to want to go, basically you're doing a 5x5 cross with 2 corpse pits at the end of each cross tip. Try to make it as straight as possible. Try to make sure that you are lined up corner to corner with the map, like so. This will really help with your snap points. Perfect. All right, so now you're going to use the dots on the corpse pit to make these lines. These lines are going to help you with designing the burgage plots that are going to produce an immense amount of food. Second thing you're going to do is remove this center corpse pit. This is where a granary is going to be. Now, the point of putting a granary center to all of these food producers is to minimize the logistical cost and time of movement. This will allow your granaries to perfectly move and gather food in a way that will lead to the least amount of issues possible. I typically would use the windmill. We don't have boards for this. We're going to use a placeholder, which is the hitching post. You're going to put that dead center, okay? Now we can remove the middle corpse pits like so. And we're going to make room for the apiaries, which will come at a later point. Now, because we don't have access to the apiaries as a placeholder, we're going to use the hunting camp to line this up. Now, turn off your snap to road tool and line this up dead center as well as possible. Place 2 of these to help guide the road straight. Right here and here. You want to leave a little bit of room from the middle because we're going to be using the middle to make circles here in a second. But just place 2 of these to help guide your road to be straight as possible. Now that you've done that, you can remove the remaining corpse pits. Now, what's beneficial about this design is this will feed the entire double burgage plots worth of housing, and that's with tier 3. This will feed everybody. You don't need any more burgage plots for anything. You're going to have a very, very efficient city. So, now we are going to connect corner to corner from those lines. That's probably wondering why the heck I had you do that, right? This is why. All right. So, line to line to line. Coolio. Now we're going to do 4 circles because we're using the hitching post. And so we're just going to go circle around. And then we're going to trace our own circles. I found it's really nice just to go a little bit at a time. You know, get the energy drinks out and watch videos on how to make circles if you wish, but this is a very effective method for circle making. So we're going to delete all the other roads. We're going to delete the hitching post. Boom, 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 boom. We're going to take this point here next to the hunting post, and we're going to make a straight line. Make sure it's straight. Don't let it curve like this. It needs to be perfectly straight in order for the apiaries to fit at a later point. Make sure that you're not going inside like that. Make sure you're snapping. Yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that everything lines up perfectly. Okay, cool. Otherwise, you're going to have problems with your market if you have any roads going inside of this area. All right, perfect. So we can see that this is pretty darn close to what we wanted. Now, what makes the hunting camp perfect, which we can now delete, is it is just a little bit bigger than the apiary. So you're going to have enough room for everything that you're trying to do here. So at the end of this, what you should have is a pretty decent setup. Now, yeah, we do definitely have the the Death Star look going on. Now you're going to place 2 rows to the side. Now you have 4 burgage plots, which are around 1 Morgan each. Bring the snap road tool back on now. You can see that this is 1 Morgan, okay? So 1 Morgan is going to net you 180 veggies, or 180 apples. So collectively, we should be yielding around 360 veggies if we do 2 plots of veggies, and 360 apples if we do 2 plots of apples. So we're going to do 2 veggies, 2 apples. The next thing that we want to do is protect our berries. So we're going to have our food production here. Now notice how close I've put this to my berries, and that's so the granary has room. So what I want to do is first make sure that I've made my circle correctly. If you do not make your circle correctly, you'll have a bad time. We are not going to be placing this granary down quite yet. You also want to place your granary down to the left or right so that it is equal distance from the future apiaries. And then we're going to have enough room for 4 market stalls, which is exactly how much we need for 20 burgage plots, and 4 food types, which is how much you need for tier 3 housing. Now, one of the things I want to show people in this video is how to produce as much food as possible. Not because you absolutely need to, but just so that I can show you the different routes you can go in this game for food production. We're going to be using the following development points: the rye cultivation, orchardry, sheep breeding, that's 3, beekeeping, that's 4, the 5th being charcoal, and the 6th being deep mining. That is going to give us every food group, except for fish. Here's where the rye fertility is. Rye here, and we can grow rye here. What that means is this area back here, absolutely perfect for industry. This is a beautiful map setup. You're not always going to get a setup like this, but you do want to know where you don't want to build. If we look to the northeast, we see a region rich with salt and fish. We're really hoping they let us do salted fish at some point. So our objective is going to be to take this region up here, which will also allow me to show you the proper way to do fish mechanics. It would be nice to also have a farming region near. We're going to take this region down here for barley, all right? And we're going to take this region up here for salt. Between all of these, we're going to be able to make pretty much every food in the game. I'm going to show you how each of them work and the logic behind them. Do you need to do that? Absolutely not. You actually don't even need to take those 2 regions. I'm going to make this place fully sustained, and then we're going to take it to ludicrous zone. It's going to be crazy and unnecessary, but I'm going to show you how every mechanic works in this city. So what's great is about this being our industrial area is we have all of our resources right here. So what we want to do is protect our berries. So let's get the forager hut. This will highlight where the berries are. Map that out in your mind where they are. And what we're going to do is protect them with a farm plot. So with this farm plot tool, what this will do is it will keep you from putting buildings on it. It will keep the woodcutters from cutting anything over here down around it. So now you can see that the berries are protected. They are fully protected by the field. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. You're going to love it. All right. Let's connect some road pieces here. The main road. Perfection. Our berries are protected. Now what we also want to do is move the wild animals. So we're going to use the cosmetic because it's the smallest thing. You just place it in the center and it will move them. So we want to move them right next to our berries. That would be ideal. And so we're going to place shrines until we get it in the perfect position. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Now by hitting tab, exiting out, hitting tab, we can see where we placed every shrine. Make sure that you delete every single shrine or it will mess up your entire starting strategy. And so what we want to do around the animals is place a circle road. This helps just give you a visual idea where things are. It also keeps people from wandering in to the camp, which is what's causing some of the glitches is animals will run away from people. So if you have a circle around, people and ox are really good about following roads. So they'll circle the animals, which scares them into the center rather than scaring them out, causing a lot of the glitches. So the circle has been a good solution for a lot of us in keeping away the animal spawn glitches. Now we have organized everything flawlessly. So let's get this going. What we want to do is do 3 burgage plots and 1 logging camp. Now the logging camp we're going to place right here. This is going to be this whole left corner, right corner over here is going to be the industry section. This is perfect. Right here, honestly, is just so perfect. Now I want to make sure that there's just enough room for us to add more hitching posts and anything else we need. So we're going to place this in a spot that I think is ideal. And then we're going to connect the road pieces into it just to make it nice. We're going to construct our second hitching post here next to the lumber camp. They fixed it so now you can order an ox straight off the bat without causing a glitch. If you don't have the second hitching post up, this needs to go up first. This needs to go up second. What I'm going to do is actually let them start moving these materials over into the logging camp. Now, because things are going to be a little bit further apart, we may not get our first family until May. I have a perfect start guide to show you how to get your first family by the 1st of April. I'm going to link that in the description if you want that example, and that 1 extra family in April is important to you. However, because we're a little bit spaced apart, I'm most likely not going to get my first family to May. And to be quite frank, that's good enough. It doesn't matter if you have 1 less family, because quite honestly, you're going to get to a point where you're going to want to stop families from coming in. We're going to get 1 family every month. I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to wait until both logs are in this logging camp, okay? Now, ox are really peculiar about following traffic laws. So sometimes having a road can really make them feel good. So if you're having issues or pathfinding issues, make roads to your ox. And they just seem to do a lot better with it, okay? So there goes the second log. So as soon as that second log is in motion, I can start on the remainder of what I'm doing. The reason I do this is if I do my houses and I do my logging camp, even if I highly prioritize that logging camp, they still sometimes will drag logs to the houses, and that throws everything off. So once you see that second log in motion to the logging camp, you are free to start building your 3 burgage plots, okay? So we're going to do our first burgage plot. Now remember what I said. Keep everything center, corner to corner. Keep everything lined up. Now we're going to use 2 methods. One is going clockwise on the first 2 points and going counterclockwise on the first 2 points. Usually this works. And then we go to this 3rd point here, corner to corner. Now what you want on these guys is that for them to be as angled as possible. If one of these is straight, it's going to be crap. So you see how nice that is, how clean that is? That's perfect. All right. Same principle, corner to corner, 3rd point there, 4th point there. Now you see how the second plot, how if I put it straight like this, it's going to be the worst thing you've ever seen. See how it carries with the second plot point? So if I can get this plot point angled more, I can get a better angle. So what that tells me is I want to drop this third point down here, and I want to stretch this fourth point until I can get the best angle possible. There you go. See how perfect that is? Not always going to be this clean. Not always going to be this clean. But that's what you're looking for. That's how you want to view these things. So when you have 3, it gets a little trickier, right? But you can see most of the time, if you put your things in point to point, you're going to get clean. That was actually, honestly, one of the best starts I've ever had. I didn't even have to really remake them at all. So now we have 3 burgage plots, right? We want to make sure this logging camp gets up. Everybody is going to hustle and bustle, and we're going to get this stuff moving. Once this logging camp is up, I want to immediately get 2 families in there to start collecting the wood that will be necessary to upgrade these burgage plots. 1, 2. All right, we got a new message. I don't want to talk to you. You don't have to talk to these guys. They're just trying to harass you and intimidate you. So now we are collecting logs. This is actually really good. We have a decent start here. It is March 11th. I still do not think, because of even just a slight distance really throws off the strategy. All right, so expand the living space immediately and go crazy. And the next thing we want to tackle is definitely getting a forager hut up and getting food. They can eat out of the pantries. We're just saying to hell with the bread that's on the floor over there. We're saying to hell with all of it. We do not care. All right, so you can see with the 2 people, we had just the perfect amount of timber coming in, and we have the perfect amount of families to be building. Now, I am a big fan of creating as many road routes as possible to keep things moving. So that is what we're going to do. And we're building everything up pretty darn well. We just need to get 1 more. It is March 28th. Like I said, we were just a little bit off, so we're not going to get that first family April 1st. You have to really dial it in. You want all your houses like right around where the storage is. But if you want to have a long-term design that is going to meet all of your food needs and be very simple, not complicated, and allow you to understand this game in a different way, then this is the route to take. And it looks like we're having a little bit of a bottleneck issue. This ox has gotten a pathfinding glitch. So this is actually kind of the shit I'm talking about in the game. It doesn't matter what map you're in, there are glitches. So let's pause the game and let's talk about some serious stuff with this game. There are a lot of issues with production and things not working. The number 1 solution to any issue that you're going to have is to save the game and reload it. It fixes almost every single problem. Later in the game, your brewery extension will stop making booze. Your blacksmith will stop making whatever it is producing that you've assigned it to. And if you save and reload, it will start working again. People spent hours trying to figure out, they're like, oh, what do I do? Delete this, delete that. And all they had to do the whole time was save and reload. Another thing with this pathfinding, sometimes a ox can get stuck on a road. I can't delete the King's Road. What I do when I see a stuck ox, outside of saving and reloading, is I just build another road that it can traverse on. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. So what we're going to do is follow my own advice. We are going to save and reload. It will eventually remedy itself. That ox actually screwed me out of my perfect start. And that's just honestly the current state of the game. Unfortunately, they're going to work on more content. It fixed itself finally. And that's just kind of the way it is. So expand the living space. We're still going to get our next family by May. So now we want to get our forager path up. So what I'm going to end up doing is putting these 2 roads. This is going to be the perfect amount of space that I believe that I need for my 4 foragers. And I want my foragers to be face down with their own little roads and to look very cool. All right. So we're going to place 2 forager huts for now. Again, we need forager space so that we can get the 40 ticks. Remember that wild berries proc 11 times at 40. If you have enough families, you can get all of those berries during the grow season. It's a very short grow season. As long as you have enough families, you can get 440 berries a year off of these small deposits. On a rich one, it's 880. The main bottleneck is having enough families. You need around 4 to 6. And having enough forage huts to hold all the berries, because each one of these can only hold 50. So the granary worker will not be able to get there in time. All right. And I'll show you more of this stuff as we go. But that is the logistics behind that. You essentially just have 4 forager huts with 4 families, usually 6. You'll need 6 no matter what it is. That seems to be the Goldilocks zone. And you'll have plenty of people in the future. So everything is up except for that burgage plot right there, which has 1 wood. So we just need to get this one thing going. I'm going to pull 1 family out to help build. There we go. All right, it's got the log. Perfect. And we've got 10 timber. We're going to pull all of our loggers out to help focus on building. As long as we have that building up, we're at 50% approval rating. There we go. We're going to have our first family on May. Like I said, could technically do it on the 1st, but we're doing great. Now, the second thing I want to do is get someone in the forager hut. Now, remember, food can be eaten out of pantries now. So you don't technically have to have a granary to keep people from starving. You just need to have a granary to get the approval bonuses for food types. We're going to get some food coming in now. This is perfect. I'm also going to get up 2 of my vegetable gardens. So with the rest of your money, get 2 vegetable gardens. When we get orchardry, we'll get 2 more of those things up. Now, we want to get our 4th burgage plot up now, so that we have the extra room for another family. And here we go. See how these are all angled really well? Not too good. So let's try to angle them a little bit more. Still really bad. So we're going to try this. We're going to try to angle the corner there and go like that. That's not as bad. You can see right here. Yeah, look at that. That's perfect. Perfect. That's the way we're going to do this one. So this is the trick right here. If none of that stuff works, do a weirdness. Try to bridge this so we can see we can get it going into this corner like that. Come down to the 3rd point. You got to bring the 4th. Look at this. So you see how bad it is? You have to bring the 4th point here. That creates that awesomeness. Now just make sure that the hammer is outside and you're good. That's going to be our apple. We got all the room for everything else. Now we can finally get the granary up. Remember, you want to face it to the left or right so that it has equal opportunity to get to the apiaries. This is about logistical travel times. We're going to turn off the snap to roads so that we can get this lined up well. Perfect. And then we just need 4 marketplaces for the food granaries because we're only going to have 20 burgage plots in this. This is more than enough. 6 is more than enough. That also leaves us just enough space to put a hitching post and potentially some other stuff if you want to maneuver this around. The key is just to have enough space for everything. Now keep in mind, you're probably wondering why haven't I gotten a well up? Well, we didn't need to. You don't need a well until you want to go to tier 2. They don't get mad if they don't have water. It's weird. We're actually going to put a well in the center of this sign because it just lined up. If it didn't, just make sure you put it on the side. We're going to need multiple wells anyway. Wells and firewood are the 2 things people travel to. Now keep in mind, people take firewood from the storehouse before a market stall. People also take food from a granary before a market stall. But they take all foods equally. We're going to go over exactly how food consumption and market mechanics work in the new patch. Special thank you to Chuck W44, Perry B, and Shield Sloth for going through all these mechanics with me, showing me where I'm incorrect in areas, and just really refining this. Now, I have a handy dandy chart that you're looking at right here, but I'm going to go through this with audio and kind of explain how things work. So there are 3 ways that food is consumed: the granary, food stalls, and pantries. Pantries are what you have in your burgage plot, your communal ovens, forager hut, hunting camp, and fisherman hut. So anything that has food in a pantry. So there is an order in which food is now consumed. It's actually consumed in equal parts between all food if it's stored in the granary or food stall. The pantry food is only consumed if there is nothing else in the granary or food stall, and it's not factored at all into equal food consumption if there is enough food in the granary and food stall. So for this first part, we're going to focus on your typical everyday consumption and how everything works. Now, it's important to note first that food is consumed at a random point per family per month. We're going to use just basic concepts here. So essentially 1 food per family per month is consumed. Now, when food is consumed, it takes a general view of what is in the granary and what is in the marketplace. And it will consume food types equally, but it will consume the food in the granary first. This has caused a massive reduction in food stalls needing to be stocked. So for example, with 20 families, say I need 20 food consumed in that month. Say I have nothing coming in, nothing going out. These are like finite numbers. If I have 9 meat in total, 5 of it in the granary, 4 of it in a market stall, 40 eggs in a market stall, 140 veggies, 100 of which is in a granary, and 40 of which is in a market stall. And then I have 13 honey, 3 of which is in a granary, and 10 of which is in a market stall. It's going to consume those 4 food type equally in this simple order of operation: consume from the granary and then consume for the market stall. So in this example, 5 meat is consumed from the granary, 5 eggs is consumed from the market stall, because that's where all the eggs are in this example. 5 veggies are consumed from the granary, and 3 honey that is in the granary is consumed first, and then the remaining 2 consumption comes out of the market stall. So this order of operation takes precedence over how all food is consumed. Now, say for instance, you have only 30 meat in a food stall, nothing in the granary, nothing else in the food market, but you have 120 veggies in a burgage plot pantry. Well, guess what? All of that meat is then consumed. So this is the only time the mechanic breaks away from equal consumption currently. So just keep in mind that granary and market stalls are fantastic for that reason. But if there is nothing in the granary and there's nothing in the food stalls, then a whole new equation starts with pantries. If these are both empty, food will be consumed from pantries, and each food type will be consumed equally. An example of this with the 20 families, I have 100 veggies in a burgage plot, and I have 100 apples. It's going to consume 10 veggies and 10 apples from those pantry burgage plots. So understanding the order of operations is important here. I have a chart. There are graphs. Hopefully this illuminates some of the issues you're having. And just to throw this in there, but that is how food consumption currently works. And some of you may be wondering, okay, well, how does firewood and how does clothing consumption work? So food is just magically distributed without any interaction from people. They don't have to go to gather it. They don't have to touch it. They don't have to physically see it. It is just manifested inside of their internal organ. Whereas firewood has to be physically picked up by a member of the household and brought there. Now, firewood is consumed 1 per month per burgage plot. That's why double burgage plots are kind of cool right now. All the cool kids use double burgage plot. But clothing is actually not consumed. Leather and tier 2 clothing, boots, it's just reserved. And what people need to understand is how things are consumed and the supply and demand mechanics are totally 2 different calculations. The supply and demand mechanics are simply there to give approval bonuses, and they have nothing to do with consumption, and are necessary for you to upgrade your burgage plots from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3. Although goods can be consumed from them, but 2 entirely different mechanics. So when you're dialing in these 100%, outside of where firewood is, you don't really need to care too much about it. Firewood location is incredibly important for logistic reasons. If I have my firewood over here and everyone is walking over there to get it, huge problem. It's also really important to note that firewood is actually taken from the storehouse by individuals before market stalls now too. So when setting up logistics, it's not enough just to have a market stall. You actually want to have the physical storehouse near where your people are located. Wherever your food is, as long as it's in a granary or a market stall, it goes via Amazon drone into the internal organs of the citizens. They don't ever touch it. You don't have to worry about it. And the clothing bonus is literally just put in a stall and it sits there. And as long as you have that clothing available, you will get the bonus. The clothing is incredibly easy to stock because you never have to do anything. So if you're wondering how all of those things are interrelated, how does food variety work? So as long as you have 4 food types available within your market stalls, you will get a 100% food variety supply and demand. You do need to stock things in your market stalls. You do need to have several types of food to get those supply and demand bonuses, but you no longer get a bonus for having multiple food type in excess of how much food types you need. You can see it says I have 6 out of 4 food types available. I'm only getting the bonus from fulfilling 4 goods. Now keep in mind, as you can see, it's using all of my foods now to hit that supply and demand bonus. You can see it's using 1 egg, 17 bread, 51 berries, 51 vegetables, 27 apples, and 49 honey. So what's cool is it can intermix food types to get 4 different varieties per burgage plot. But yes, we no longer get a bonus for having excess variety. That is a mechanic they put in the game to deal with how fast market stalls were depleting and to make it much easier to hold the supply and demand approval bonuses. Supply and demand has nothing to do with consumption. Consumption is an entirely different mechanic. Supply and demand is simply there to keep your approval ratings high. You can put taxes. And also, at 50% approval, you get 1 family on the 1st of the month. At 75% approval, if you hold it by the 15th, 16th of the month, you get a second family. So you want to keep those supply and demand bonuses happy so that you can have taxes and pay the king's tax, which will later in the game, not in the current state, but later future patches, be actually a huge big deal. So we're getting that burgage plot up. We got our forager hut going. We got food supply coming. We're also going to want to start getting the hunting camp. So we're going to place a hunting camp actually right here in the middle. This is perfect. And boom, we just got our 6th family. So we got veggies going already. We're going to have apples. This is going to be enough veggies for an entire population. Usually takes about 3 years and tier 3 to see the full awesomeness of these. You could technically go a lot bigger, but what I like about plots like this is they're very manageable for 4 families, which is what you'll have on a tier 3 double burgage plot. So we're going to put one individual back into the logging camp now. We are going to move the hitching post over here, and we're in beautiful shape. So this is a very fantastic start.